Vampire the Masquerade is an old and long-lived IP. Known for both the enthusiasm and hysteria that the tabletop generated in the 90s. But it's also known for the flawed cult classic video game from 2004 called Bloodlines. And yet, nearly a decade before Bloodlines put vampires on your screen, at the height of the tabletop's popularity, Vampire the Masquerade also had a TV show. It was 1996's Kindred the Embraced, a vampiric soap opera about the Prince of San Francisco. 7 total episodes were aired, with 1 additional completed episode that never hit the CRT TVs of the day. Was it a good show?
You made my dreams come true, Frank. To feel like a woman again. A real human woman.
It had many shortcomings, but it did manage to weave some really solid characterization of a morally gray cast of characters in a remarkably short time. Many were sad to see the show cancelled, and it has since become something of a cult classic. It's kind of gone down in history that the show was cancelled due to the tragic and premature death of one of the main actors, Mark Frankel, who played Julian, the then true prince of the city. In truth, though, the show had been cancelled a few weeks before Frankel's car accident. The reason given appears to have just been that it was an expensive show to make. Prominent actors, special effects work, and also licensing fees made the show cost quite a bit more than other shows at the time. It didn't appear to underperform, it just wasn't getting enough eyeballs on it to warrant continuing. Fortunately, the show was later released on DVD with an extended first episode, and the lost 8th episode intact. Nowadays, it's the kind of forgotten series that gets posted on YouTube in its entirety every now and then. I'll drop some links down below, but if you're watching this a year from now, those links may not work anymore. Either way, give the show a look for online. You'll find it if you want it. Now, having watched the whole thing, I've mainly decided to cover episode 1. Reason being, this is an eventful series, and if I tried to summarize the whole thing, we'd either be here for 8 hours like it's a Quentin Reviews video, or I would feel like I'm just skimming the surface of this thing. Also, episode 1 is just so insanely stacked with content. Just a truly wild episode of TV. Vampire the Masquerade has always been a setting where you could be easily seduced into becoming the victim or dupe of someone who only sees you as prey. But the internet is a lot like that too, isn't it? That's why you need today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. Because the internet has changed a lot since 1996.
The internet was free back then. Free both as in speech and in beer. Not so anymore. Paywalls, region locking, corporations packing up and selling your data to, well, who knows who. Private Internet Access is a VPN app that helps you escape what the internet has become. And it's helped 30 million people return to the digital frontiers of our past. This bad boy here is your one-stop shop to keeping both your IP and your connection private. And by the way, PIA does not store your data at all, thus meaning that Private Internet Access will even protect you from private internet access. Now, listen, our bread and butter on this channel is all the various spin-off renditions of Dungeons & Dragons, but one piece of D&D media that I actually haven't covered yet is the new D&D movie, Honor Amongst Thieves. If you missed out on that movie, well, it's actually not super available in the US. But with PIA, you can actually visit me in the Canadian internet, and you can actually access the movie through Canadian Netflix. Plus many other shows that aren't available in the US, like the entire Studio Ghibli collection. Right now, the PIA app is available on all platforms for my audience for a special deal. A special deal of 83% off. Plus, on top of that, 4 extra free months with your package. You will be living in an emancipated internet for only $2.03 a month. Check out the linked offer in both the pinned comment and the description below. Thanks once again to PIA for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to San Francisco.
Kindred begins with a cinematic sweep of San Francisco. Through the power of movie magic, the obvious daylight is badly made to resemble nighttime, with a dark camera lens. A pair of figures are chasing a third across one of the rooftops. Downstairs, however, we find a pair of cops here investigating a mob leader named Julian Luna. The protagonist cop, Frank, being so devoted to taking down Luna that he's even begun dating Julian's ex, and trying to get info out of her that way. The other cop, however, isn't the protagonist, unless he's kind of the let's go home friend. Nevertheless, you may recognize this actor for such roles as...
Surprise, motherfucker!
No, really, he's that guy. Back up to the top. The two assailants impale their victim with a cross, nailing him to the roof as the sun rises. Hey showrunners, if the sun is rising, why are the shadows so short? Huh? Are you trying to hide the fact that you were filming at 2 p.m. instead of the crack of dawn? I'm not fooled! The two cops are obviously appalled and shocked when the victim spontaneously catches fire. After bringing the charred body to the morgue, the coroner is initially unimpressed with their claims of supernatural burning.
Who do you think speaks for him? Who'll tell his story? Unless you guys tell me what really happened, you won't get a damn thing out of me, okay?
But after he gets over those initial doubts, he quickly slams his foot on the gas in an entirely different direction.
It's extraordinary. You know how long I've dreamed of this kind of case? Spend some time with this body. That guy gets stiff over stiffs.
We hop points of view over to Julian, who is totally a mob boss, not a vampire. Don't check, vampires aren't real. He's mourning that guy who died in the first scene. The victim was a gangrel, and his killers were Bruja. This gangrel in particular was also Julian's head of security, and the killing was obviously an attack on Julian by the Bruja elder, Eddie. Julian now finds himself staring down a clan war for control of San Francisco. But there's a second problem as well, a threat to the Masquerade itself. That damned cop who's dating his ex is sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. And now he's brought in a Kindred corpse to be autopsied with the police. Meanwhile, our cop friend is on a date with said ex, a vampiress named Alexandra. Frank keeps talking about work and wanting to catch Julian.
Now that I got a body I can connect to him, I'm gonna yank him out of that big mansion on the hill.
Alexandra obviously isn't crazy about discussing her ex and wants to change the subject.
I don't want to talk about him.
Frank is a little bit embarrassed about this faux pas that he just did, and he starts blushing.
You're blushing.
That's a bad idea, actually. Let me explain. Welcome to William Sex, Relationships, and Dating Advice. It's a new segment that will for sure be in every video forever after this one. Listen, bros, you ever find yourself on a date with a gorgeous partner, hot to the eyes but cold to the touch? Do not blush. That's not how you're gonna keep someone interested. Plus, that's blood rushing to your head, bro. See, Frank just went and made her hungry. Let's see how it works for him.
You look a little pale.
Let me go freshen up.
Oh, you see, bros? She's leaving. That's not good. Bros, this is what happens when you blush. Your date will drink someone else's blood in the bathroom. Common rookie mistake from Frank. Now someone's lightheaded, your date is embarrassed, and she's not gonna have room to eat you later. Let's rewind this thing and give Frank another try.
Your hand's like ice.
It's a little chilly in here.
This guy's hopeless. Get him out of here. Cut the fuck. Despite Frank not being a very good date, he ends up back in Alexandra's luxurious home. And let me tell you, he is happy to see her. Oh, never mind. It actually was just a gun. They might seem like a mismatch, especially with Frank mostly being with her to learn more information about Julian.
If you were working for Luna, you'd tell me, wouldn't you?
And also the fact that the two actors have basically no chemistry to speak of.
You made my dreams come true, Frank. To feel like a woman again. A real human woman.
God, I'd love to hear you talk like that. I have no idea what it means, but it turns me on.
But nevertheless, against all odds, the connection seems remarkably genuine. Frank is an odd date, but honestly, she is too. Elsewhere, Julian is attempting to fill the gap in his retinue, Gangrels don't tend to stick around cities very much, but a few have recently rolled into town on their motorbikes, hoping for revenge for the murder of their sire.
Stevie Ray was my sire. He sired all of us.
Julian steps in, offering their leader a place in his court as the new head of security. The Gangrels act up about it, of course, but in the end, Julian's enemies are the Gangrels' enemies too. So the pact is forged. Just in time too, cause Eddie's Bruja are here to stir up trouble. That's right, folks. It's time for a vampiric drive-by shooting. And if you thought that any of this would resemble a normal mortal drive-by, you'd be wrong. That's right, everybody. The main character of the show has just arrived. It's not the Bruja, it's not Julian, it's not the cop, it's the goddamn sci-fi gun.
I need a weapon. Right this way.
My life for the sci-fi gun! The cops arrive and have to pretend that a drive-by with a grenade launcher that shoots white phosphorus wasn't the coolest thing they've ever seen in their lives. After the confrontation, Julian heads out to speak with one of his other close allies, a Nosferatu who is equal parts artistic savant and depressed genius. His name is Daedalus, and he is a precious little baby. We love Daedalus. Although for a Nosferatu, the show didn't make him all that, monstrous. He kinda just looks like his ears are a bit fucked up, like maybe he had, badly healed stretched ears or something. Oh, and more importantly, he's bald. Later in the season, it will become increasingly funny to watch humans get terrified when they notice a bald man. Julian asks Daedalus to deal with the coroner, because the Nosferatu is equal parts discreet and bored. The Dark Prince's next stop is to go de-stress with his new lover, the elder of the local Toreadors. The show has already been a little bit fast and loose with the lore of Vampire the Masquerade, but it's been semi-forgivable up till now. Sure, the Bruja aren't very much like themselves other than their rivalry with the Ventru, but the Toreadors, the Ventru, Nosferatu, and Gangrel were ported into the TV show with their souls 60% intact, which is better than expected. But now we have hit our first unforgivable lore break. Attention, ma'am, that is diablerie. You are doing diablerie. Please remain where you are while a masquerade enforcer arrives to grant you final death. Anyway, Julian's more like Frank than he thinks, and he starts grumbling in the middle of his lovemaking session about his ex-lover, Alexandra.
Frank Kohanic, he worries me.
It's a very dangerous liaison for Alexandra.
She knows the masquerade is the only protection we have from humans. If this cop knows of us, he would hunt us.
Specifically about how she might be breaking the masquerade with a cop. Our Toreador obviously appears jealous. Oh my, the angst thickens. But before it can become a proper angst slurry, news reaches Julian that his grandson has passed on. He had children when he was alive, you see, and this was one of the last ones that he felt any real bond to. He departs for the funeral immediately, but is confronted by Alexandra. She rightfully figures out that she's crossed a line with Frank. She's here to ask a favor. Julian, could you, not murder Frank, please? For old time's sake? Julian's completely off-put by this, especially when he realizes that she doesn't even want to embrace the cop and turn him into a kinfolk. She actually just seems to like him. Disgusting. See, that whole normal human woman thing she said earlier, that wasn't an idle statement. In life, Alexandra was as vibrant, as passionate as they come. Julian liked it. It's what he liked about his original wife centuries ago as well. He embraced Alexandra, not giving her a choice in the matter, or considering the fact that her passion and vibrance would fade in undeath. Being with a human was the closest thing Alexandra had to being her true self again. Julian decides to think about it. And on the way, he takes a second to lie with his dead wife. You know, a little undead spooning to get him through a tough day, whomst among us, right? Afterwards, he gives a eulogy to all of his many descendants. The grandchild had all the passion of Julian's wife. That same passion then led to a glorious rise to wealth as a renowned winemaker.
He made fortunes for many of us in this room. But more importantly, he made the finest wine.
And then comes the disturbance. A young woman arrives. A member of the family, but not a welcome one.
Here's to you, Grandpa.
Excuse me, what the fuck? What the actual fuck is this TV show? So this is Sasha, family outcast, rebel, and incestuous corpse kisser. And as wacky as all that was, Julian approves.
Well said, Sasha.
Despite it all, Sasha seems to be his one descendant that's like, alive. The others having all been turned into rich ghouls. No, not ghouls as in like vampire thralls, ghouls as in like spoiled rich dilettantes. We hop over to the clearly doomed cop romance. It's going well. It has the chemistry of two cardboard boxes rubbing against each other, but it is going well. Which is why Alexandra is absolutely gobsmacked when she looks across her balcony and discovers that they're being watched. Smash cut to her having absolutely, utterly destroyed this man, and she tosses him into Julian's entranceway.
You stay away from us! I don't want to see your punks anywhere near me. They aren't old enough to know what bad things I can do to them.
The Prince of San Francisco is worried. He doesn't actually want to hurt Alexandra, but everyone around him reminds him that he's the prince and it's his duty to deal with out-of-control vamps like this one.
No one commands me. No man, no prince.
He's going to have to act, whether he likes it or not. Hoping to take advantage of this situation and eliminate her rival, Julian's Toreador lover heads to Eddie and reveals her prince's weakness for Alexandra to the Bruja clan. A meeting is called between the 5 clans present in the city. Eddie's pulled enough shit that Julian's obviously mad, but on the other hand, Eddie's been careful enough to not push things in such a way that Julian would end up having all of the clans supporting him. The Nosferatu and the Gangrel are obviously with Julian, but, I mean, the Gangrels have like 2 people in the entire city, so they don't even count. Meanwhile, the Toreadors are playing both sides. If Julian pushed for a war, it might be 3 clans versus 1, or it could be a 2v2 fight. And that would be cataclysmically bad for the Kindred of San Francisco. A more ruthless prince would probably have just done it anyway, and reminded the Toreadors that they're guaranteed a win if they side with him, but not so if they side against him. But Julian doesn't try it. His weakness is plain for all to see, and in this moment of vulnerability, the topic is broached.
I have been informed that your girlfriend who runs with the cop has broken the masquerade, and you have let them both live. Maybe you're getting soft. Maybe we need a new prince.
A strong prince wouldn't let his ex-lover break the masquerade with a cop. And so, our brooding boy is left with a choice. Alexandra must be punished. Or he has to make war upon the Bruja decisively, right here and right now. He has little choice, and he calls a blood hunt for Alexandra.
I declare a blood hunt for Alexandra Saris for breaking the commandment of our masquerade.
She will not survive the night. She knew this was coming, though, and she returns to Frank, desperate to keep him safe in her final moments. She had flirted against the bounds of the masquerade before now, but now she breaks them completely.
I was born in a mine in 1876. By telling you this, I've condemned myself.
Telling Frank of the Kindred and that Julian is no mere mob boss, but in fact the vampire prince of San Francisco. She transforms into a white wolf and flees into the night. Which, I don't think that's a Ventru power. They can't do that, I don't think. That's Protean. Ventru don't have Protean. I'm about to go full rules lawyer on this damn show. Frank picks up his partner. He's going to go save his lover, but he needs help to do it. However, it was his mistake for trying to bring the let's go home friend.
Let me out of here. I'm serious. Let me out. Let me the hell out of here.
All right.
And his partner tells Frank to just keep his head down and go home.
You get yourself a necklace of garlic and some silver bullets, and call me when you feel better, all right?
Alexandra, however, doesn't flee. She heads straight to Julian. She knows she just kind of threw away her only chance to escape, but she wants to beg for Frank's life one last time. There's a lot of melodrama.
You were always loyal to me, Julian.
We have progressed to being a full-on soap opera.
Why did you do this? You could have just enjoyed him.
I am not a beast.
Julian just tells her to just shut up and run for your life already. Frank deserves death for tempting Alexandra like this, for turning her against the Kindred. He can't call off the hunt, but I mean, maybe he could like hide her or shelter her or help her run or something. But she says no. She doesn't want this to be Julian's downfall any more than she wants this to come down on Frank's head. With nothing else he can do for someone he's done so wrong by, Julian makes the promise. Frank will not be harmed. Alexandra has little hope left, but she makes an attempt to survive nonetheless, fleeing into the dark streets of the city. She catches a cab, and it might just be her saving grace at getting out of this city alive. It would sure be a shame if her driver was bald. She's brought out to a place where she will have nowhere to hide from the rising sun. But that night filter isn't fooling me. I see how short those damn shadows are. In an act of mercy, Frank is tipped off as to where he can find Alex, and they're reunited for perhaps the greatest TV moment of the 1990s. Good art is timeless. It never dies. Eddie doubles down on this moment of weakness for the prince, having a Bruja infiltrator in the police department tip Frank off as to where Julian can be found. And oh no, Frank's partner is a vampire!
Surprise, motherfucker!
Julian is lost in regret, wandering Alexandra's former home when Frank barges in, armed and dangerous. Julian warns Frank. He's been given a chance to walk away. Don't waste it.
To me, you're just a monster to be put down like a mad dog.
Okay, alright, okay, but now walk No, okay, you shot him again. Okay, still, even despite that, Julian can't kill him today, even if Frank is determined to have a final showdown. He leaves, while Frank screams an eternal vendetta against him. He will kill Julian for what happened, even if he must himself become a monster to make it so. And that's where episode 1 ends. Like I said, a lot happened. It's a busy show. And it was worth drilling down in depth on that episode because, goddamn, the show would never be completed, but the other 7 episodes may still be worth your time, as a lot of the plot hooks still get the chance to play out and reach their conclusion. Sasha gets entangled into the clan wars, Eddie and the Bruja fight the Ventru openly, the Toreador continues to cause trouble with her shifting loyalties, and Daedalus continues to horrify people with his baldness. He even casts a spell at one point to have hair, and then when the illusion breaks, everyone's so scared. Poor bastard. As for Frank, well, if in episode 1 it seemed like our protagonist was more just a side character in Julian's story, that is because he basically was. As the episodes rolled on, the writers began to realize more and more that the boring cop should not be the main character of a show about Vampire the Masquerade. Julian is in actuality the main character, and by the end of the opening 8 episodes, Frank is little more than an occasional side member in the cast, being trotted out in front of the camera anytime the Kindred and the police interact. Because of this and other reasons, it's a messy show, and it desperately needed a few more drafts before it started production. Quite honestly, Frank should not have been the lead character even in episode 1, as the writers would soon figure out for themselves. But honestly, I don't think Julian should have been the main character either. The need to make him sympathetic as a protagonist made it so that Julian was just way too weak of a leader to be the prince of such an important city. The show might have been better off told from Sasha's point of view, as her stay with her uncle quickly ends up with her getting entangled into a dark and bloody world she was unprepared for, culminating in her soon joining it as a fledgling. Or it could have been told from the perspective of the gangrel, coming into city politics for the first time to avenge his sire. You know, just give us a POV main character so that we can see Julian with some distance, and thus give him enough space to be as morally gray as he needed to be. A Prince of the Masquerade is going to have to occasionally commit some extremely cruel acts, just as part of the job. Either way, structural problems or not, the show was still mostly well received. It wasn't a particularly great adaptation of Vampire the Masquerade, but it managed to be better than most vampire fans expected. It would be cool to see another crack taken at some point to turn the World of Darkness into a work of television, even if it's just fans making a web series. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Coming up soon is the last episode in our month of darkness. We're headed to the mean streets of Venice as a vampire assassin in Vampire the Masquerade Justice, and getting ourselves tangled up in the long and messy history of clans Giovanni and Hecata.